Hi, everyone. My name is Valerie Friedlander, and I'm your host for Motherhood Unlimited, the #1 summit for moms who want it all. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. It is our mission to take the limits off motherhood and empower moms to have it all for their own unique and vibrant life. We believe that when moms learn to create where, who, and how they want to be, their happiness and overall life satisfaction increases, and they become inspired and inspirational for their children and each other. Today, we are talking about what your mama never told you about childbirth and your baby bod. Our expert is Marianne Ryan. I invited her to share with you because of her work helping moms have strong, healthy postpartum bodies that we can feel good in. So thank you so much for being here today, Marianne.
I'm delighted to be here, and I'm delighted to help as many moms as possible.
Yay! So before we get started, let me tell everyone a little bit about you. Marianne is a physical therapist, board-certified orthopedic clinical specialist, and mom. She has over 30 years experience treating pregnant and postpartum women and is an award-winning author of the international best-selling book, Baby Bod, Turn Flab to Fab in 12 weeks flat, available on Amazon. Ooh, yeah. She is also the clinical director of Marianne Ryan Physical Therapy in New York City and a former spokesperson for the American Physical Therapy Association. Marianne taught at Columbia University School of Nursing and New York University. She has appeared on dozens of national TV and radio shows and has been featured in Redbook, Fitness, USA Today, and the Wall Street Journal. Marianne is passionate about helping women reclaim their bodies after childbirth and developed the online Baby Bod coaching program to make it easier for busy moms to learn how to prepare and recover from childbirth. So fabulous to have you. Thank you so much. So let's start off with you telling us a little bit about your journey to taking the limits off of motherhood.
Oh, good. Well, as you mentioned, I'm a mom, and physically, at being a physical therapist, I was very surprised at how much pain I was in during both pregnancies. And what I had was called an unstable pelvis, which is very common. But over 30 years ago, people really didn't know how to treat it. Physical therapists that I knew didn't have the manual therapy background that we do now. And so I just suffered through the pregnancy with pain. And the best the doctor could offer is use some moist heat, which made it worse. And I noticed in my practice that a lot of pregnant moms don't come in for physical therapy to get rid of pain until they've had it for 3 or 4 months. Because they might see their doctor, they'll mention it to the doctor might say, go for a massage and not think of a physical therapist as the avenue for, correcting the problem. So anyway, I was frustrated all these years that poor moms are in pain during their pregnancy and really are not guided to where they should go to get relief. Then after that, I noticed I've had some problems, that I had continued pain, and also it's embarrassing, but a little urine leakage when I sneezed and coughed. And I, learned as I was taking more and more postgraduate work in classes in women's health that, it may be common to have a little bit of leakage here and there when you sneeze and cough once you become a mom, but it's not normal. It means there's a weakness in the system. Something's breaking down. So to make a long story short, I tried many different programs. I tried biofeedback. I was treated by many very good therapists, and nothing really cured it until I finally did a lot of research and I put together an exercise program that actually cured my problem. I no longer have back pain, and I'm dry.
Yay!
A lot of people don't, women don't like to talk about it, and they just kind of avert the issue like, oh, it only happens every so often. And, it's not normal. Women are used to a lot of changes in their body throughout their whole entire lifetime. Even on a monthly basis, we get our periods, and we're used to fluids, but it's just not normal, and it means that you need help. So the exercise program I put together took over 3 years of research and test and trials with different classes that I had, and I wrote Baby Bod, and I put the book together in both the program that I do online where I meet people, via webinars like we're doing right now, and teach them the program. And I also have a very busy practice in Manhattan where I see lots of mommies and treat them
Awesome.
while they're pregnant and also when they're postpartum.
Wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are so many things that, you just figure your body shifted, it did all this stuff, and then you're naturally going to have these aches and pains, and things aren't going to be the way they're supposed to be. And how long does it take to get your body back? Like I had thought originally that once I have a baby, I'm going to be back into my clothes again. I'm going to be everything, the baby's out, so my stomach is going to be down. And I did get told, thankfully, by somebody that it takes a little while for the uterus to shrink. But even then, it's like there's muscle stuff going on too. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, there's a misconception by moms, until they go through the process, and also medical professionals, that they just assume the body's going to just snap back together, and it doesn't. And women need help, and that's why in certain countries like France, every single woman since 1987, they started an initiative to help women recover from childbirth. And they did that actually to increase their birth rate, because it was below 2, and if it's below 2, there's a problem with the economic problems. So they increased their birth rate to above 2 in less than 10 years by having women go for physical therapy for their pelvic, to rehab or their pelvic floor and also their abdominal muscles. So all moms in France go for anywhere from 2 to 3 months after each and every single baby, starting at 6 weeks. And unfortunately, here in the States, women are just like told, well, go back, at 6 weeks, you get a magic, it's a tap on the back and a piece of paper saying, do your Kegels, which studies show that 51% of women do them wrong. When they did a study, they said, all right, let's do your Kegels. They're actually pushing down rather than pulling up. So there's a big lack of care and that's one reason why I was frustrated. I wanted to give women an option. I personally can't treat everybody, and we don't have a medical system that is doing as well as it used to be, where people could afford to go to private physical therapists. So anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's one of the reasons why we do this sort of thing, is so more moms know about what's going on, what's out there. Cause that's what I was told too, of like, okay, do your Kegels. And one of the main reasons why I wanted to bring you on here was because of my own fears about post-baby, because my grandmother had what I was told was a vaginal prolapse, which is basically where things start falling down, is what I was told. I was like, oh my God, that's terrifying. And I didn't know what caused that other than, like a weak pelvic floor and do your Kegels. But I'm like, there's got to be more to it than that. Would you please tell us a little bit about how we can avoid that happening?
Well, also studies have shown that once you're postpartum, you're always postpartum. So you might give birth and everything's fine, but it could be 6 to 10 to even 20 years later where you might start developing problems as a result of pregnancy, all the changes that occur then, and also childbirth. So what I try to explain to people with my program is, like, it doesn't matter if you just, people say, oh, I wish I had that right after I gave birth. Well, you can still recover, so once you take those steps to recover, you can prevent problems further down the line. Mm-hmm. There are some changes in menopause, and that might be why your granny had a prolapse. Either it happens either with the bladder or the rectum kind of falls into the vaginal vault. And sometimes women can feel something like almost like a golf ball, on the bottom of their pelvic floor. Mm-hmm. So, if your grandmother, was to try to recover from, from childbirth, also, if she wanted treatment, there studies have also shown that physical therapy can reduce the level of prolapse, and sometimes in cases where it's not that severe, and cure it. So, and the other option women are given, like for your grandmother, I don't know if somebody said we can do surgery to kind of lift up the bladder and kind of fix you. Well, 1/3 they found 1/3 of all of those surgeries fail within 7 years.
Well, yeah, she did have the surgery, but I think it was close enough to when she left us or not close enough, but not within, 7 years. So we didn't have to find that out. But, so Kegels seem like an easy thing to do, like if we're doing them correctly, at the desk. What's something else that we might be able to do easily at the desk that, maybe you could share with us, like one of the exercises that we could do?
All right, let me change this a little bit. Well, first of all, let's talk about Kegels.
Mm-hmm.
They're worthless unless you change your alignment so that it optimally activates your core muscles. Your core muscles are a thin balloon of muscles that surround all of your organs. So the inside part of your pelvic floor are core muscles. The deeper abdominals in the front and the deeper back muscles called the multifidus, and also the inside of the diaphragm forms a core of muscles that are supposed to hold you together so you can move around. So unless you're in the right type of alignment, which is stacking your chest over your pelvis, which is a little hard to kind of show here because of the angle. But most women, especially after childbirth, kind of change their posture where their back is arched.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why they do that is so that they can make room for the baby to grow.
Yeah.
So they go backwards. And then after they give birth, they have these very stretched out abdominal muscles, and then they're expected to take care of babies and then get ready for work, returning to work, and also nurse, and crazy stuff. So who has time to even think about rehab? So some of the simple things you can do is just change the way you align yourself. Some people call it posture. So it's taking your chest, and it's actually, I'll stand up where you won't see my head. Just see if we can kind of back this up a little bit. But what you need to learn to do is change from arching backwards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Moving your pelvis to midline, and then actually bringing your chest down.
Okay.
Feel like you're leaning forward.
Yeah.
The shoulders and head are forward, not your body. Because if you can see, my chest or my rib cage is right over my pelvis.
Okay.
And that automatically will help increase the strength and the ability of the pelvic floor and deeper abdominals to contract. It's called muscle activation. So you can try it right now. Sit your normal way. And I want you to try to quote unquote Kegel, which is a pelvic floor contraction.
Okay.
What I want you to do is just squeeze as if you're stopping the flow of urine.
Okay.
And be aware of where you're feeling that. Just squeeze, hold 1, 2, 3, and relax. Try it one more time. Squeeze and relax. Now what I want you to do is kind of rock your pelvis back and forth so that you're tilting your pelvis forward and back. And I want you to stop when the pelvis is in neutral. And you know that when your vagina is touching the seat.
Okay.
Okay, so
it's really awkward.
it is awkward, but it's actually the best position, and you're sitting on your sits bones.
Yeah.
It's Pilates. Okay, so take your buttocks and even push it back into the back of the chair if you can, and it'll feel more natural.
Okay.
Then from there, feel how there's probably tension in your lower back. Bring your chest down, and now you're more solid. Okay, more aligned. Now what I want you to do is squeeze your pelvic floor and tell me if you're feeling a difference from earlier.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm before I was feeling like I was actually almost working my like other muscles. Like I couldn't do it without working other muscles, whereas I feel like it's almost easier now.
Not anus now. And then what most moms tell me is that they feel it, like say if this is the anus, more in the front of the pelvic floor.
Uh-huh.
And that's the area that holds up the urine because your urethra is right there.
Right.
So you can do as many Kegels as you want. If you're not properly aligned, they're not going to do anything for you.
Right. Okay, awesome.
Or is an awareness rather than a strengthening program.
Yeah.
So awareness, activation. So one more thing, go back into the good alignment.
Mm-hmm.
So put your pelvis first in neutral.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the seat. Bring your rib cage over your pelvis. So there's a straight line from your rib cage to your pelvis.
Okay.
Now what I want you to do is count out loud and hold it for 3 counts. You're going to count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi while you're squeezing.
Okay.
So try it. Squeeze and 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and relax.
Okay.
Now, hopefully, you probably felt that the contraction was a little bit stronger.
Uh-huh.
Try it one more time on your own.
Okay. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Okay. Yeah, it's easier than any other time I've done it.
Okay, so what the pelvic floor and the deeper abdominals and the core muscles work best when you're exhaling. So throughout my program, I have people count out loud.
Oh, nice. That's a cute trick. I haven't thought about it, but yeah, absolutely.
So it works when you're in the car. People when they're in the gym are a little embarrassed to be counting 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi while they're doing some of the leg exercises. So, they have to practice being a ventriloquist.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the way I've integrated how science has done research, and the most optimal way to do exercises are in good alignment and using the exhale when you're exerting yourself, so that you have core stability.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So along the lines of alignment, one of the things that that I tend to struggle with a lot is, my mother-in-law ended up with her hips like this. And I can only assume that it has to do with carrying the kid like this all the time, but I mean, I'm going to pick my kids up, and I was a baby wearer. So I know, it's carrying in the front, but then I'm still doing this just after postpartum. So what do you recommend for how we work that posture and improve those muscles while we're still going about life?
Baby wearing, ideally if you're outdoors and you're going for a walk, we're city people, so we walk miles per day. I mean, that's just part of city living. Mm-hmm. So I'll say to moms, now I usually see moms in my practice who are having some discomfort or some problems with urinary incontinence, things like that. Wear the baby in the house. If you're going for, walks with the baby, try to take your arms and hold the baby up. So, and don't carry bags. So don't expect to go to the supermarket and carry, 20, 30 pounds worth of groceries, which is easy to build. Getting, 20 pounds of groceries is very easy. Bag of apples, couple, OJ, milk, whatever, it's very heavy. So that's what I recommend, is trying not to use it. And then, I had an interesting discussion with the mom yesterday, because the first time I saw her, the moms in my practice often bring the kids, and we use the babies to teach them good body mechanics. And also, I also treat block milk ducts. So sometimes we have to, do different positions and stuff. So she came in with a sling, and I was like, and she asked me first, which was great. And I said, I'm not a fan of the sling, because it's going to tend to have you kind of put your weight to one side. So the next time she came, which was yesterday, she had the, I think it's called the Moby, the wrap up, and it's better. I kind of adjusted it for her. And this is her second child. She said, I can't wait until, and the poor little thing was only 7 weeks. I can't wait until I put him on my back, because she carried her kids on her, her other child on her back as soon as I forget what age it's appropriate for. So it's easier on the back if you have the baby up high enough. Mm-hmm. But, the front carriers are great. I think the slings, you might want to consider not using unless you might wear it for a half hour on one side, then you go to the other side.
Yeah, that makes sense. The switching off, it's challenging. I really have to think about the switching off because, I'm right-handed, and so I'll carry this side so I can do things with this side, but I'm definitely, getting all kind of twerked out of I can feel it. I'll feel it. I've had some knee pain, and a little bit of lower back pain, but actually the knee pain surprised me. Is that something that is that kind of thing something that's related to?
Yeah, I don't know what type of knee problem you have, but women, when they stand, when they're pregnant, tend to kind of smash their knees backwards in order to balance. So that puts a strain on the posterior part of the knee and also on the kneecap itself. But I'm not sure what type of knee pain you have. It might even be back pain. You can have, back pain you can feel in the lower leg, in the legs. And that means, a nerve might be pinched, and you might need to do some stabilization exercises.
Okay, good to know. So assessment necessary. Okay, so let's touch on real quick one of the things that all moms want to know, which is, and kind of touches on the baby bod in terms of, what about our stomach? What about that mommy belly? Is there anything we can do about that? And
absolutely.
What?
All the time for it. There is a program out there that recommends for diastasis recti that you wear a tight abdominal binder, and I'm totally against that.
Okay.
I do recommend wearing a looser binder. It's more. I have one on our website store that I really like a lot because it's graduated compression and it's medical grade. So what right after childbirth, I recommend that women wear it for about a month to kind of help remind the muscles, not take over the work of the muscles, but remind the muscles how to contract, and also to give some extra support. But there is something called the mommy tummy, where there's a separation of the six-pack muscles. So people get like a dome if they do this, if they either eat or if they go to do kind of like a sit-up move, they'll get like a dome in the middle of the tummy. And what that is in between the six-pack muscles, there's connective tissue that hold the two six-pack muscles in place. But when you're pregnant, that connective tissue in between becomes loose because of the hormones. And it can continue while you're nursing. Okay, there hasn't been enough studies to really kind of figure out what exactly is happening to the nursing mom. But I've noticed, and many other physical therapists who I've talked to, notice that even nursing moms have looser connective tissue. Okay, so what happens to that connective tissue? It becomes looser, so it can expand to form, to be able to accommodate the size of the growing belly or or the growing baby. So it's normal to develop it. Studies have shown that 65% of women have it right after delivery. Okay, and then at the end of a month, maybe 30% have it. And then, so it might gradually get better, but the whole point of, what I like to warn women and teach them is not to overexert themselves and do things with breath holding behavior. So if you go to pick up something heavy, usually you go, "Ugh!" You kind of tighten up your belly, and what you're doing is you're actually holding your breath and pushing down. And what that does, that can further separate the abdominal six-pack muscles and make the mommy tummy worse. So there's prevention, and it's important to make mommies aware of that.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so tell me, how does that play in with sit-ups? Because that's always my thought. I'm learning more about like core muscle exercises and stuff, but still, like sit-ups is like a key one that everybody thinks about when they think they want to reduce their stomach.
I hate sit-ups. I've done a couple of radio interviews, and the name of the interview was "Sit-Ups Suck" and why. And I really have a hard time sometimes trying to explain to people why. And it actually can make your mommy tummy worse and also weaken your pelvic floor. And it does the opposite of what you really think you're going to be doing. And that includes like the Pilates 100, where you kind of sit back and you do kind of like this, as you kind of lift your head and do like a crunch and hold it for 100 pulses. So if you go on to my website, which is babybodbook.com, so it's spelled B-O-D, not body. So babybodbook.com, you can download a free a preview of the book, and it's a whole blog article on why sit-ups really don't work. And what happens is that you increase the internal pressure, because what you're doing when you lift is you push down. And I have a whole diagram explaining that and why it works against you. And in that blog article, I give 4 really simple exercises you can do to start flattening your tummy. And, you know, it might surprise you, but those are much more efficient than sit-ups.
Awesome. Okay, fabulous. So what can we expect? So say, all right, I'm experiencing some discomfort, I want to be proactive, and you said I can do this at any time. Like I have a 2 and a 5-year-old, like how long do I have to really make a difference?
To the day before you die.
Awesome.
Difference.
Okay, so good. So I can do this anytime. So say I want to be proactive, or you know, before like anything starts showing up, because I think you said like I might not be having anything right now, but down the line,
studies have shown that women can develop things like urinary incontinence, chronic pelvic pain 6, 10, 20, 30 years later, from the trauma of childbirth, and also from the changes that occurred while you were pregnant and they weren't you didn't properly rehab yourself. And it's hard to do it yourself now that there's so much science out there and research that there are very specific things you can do, and it's not really that tough. I have women start doing what I call the pelvic core starter, which you might call Kegels, but it's the way I just taught it to you before. Starting day 1 after childbirth, and even if you have a C-section, you can do it. There's certain limitations of women who have very large tears, and also working on their alignment, breathing techniques, and teaching them a lot of pain control techniques too, so that they can function more without feeling discomfort.
Yeah, well, that sounds fabulous. And I was just thinking, that must be why they have like all those incontinence pads and stuff in the same area with the baby food and the female.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm going to take that as a little reminder that I can do something about this. I don't have to need those.
Yeah, this is the perfect shower gift, by the way. Instead of, instead of like a lot of the other things.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I were to kind of, as I started asking, but got sidetracked by myself, if I were to be proactive, or you know, if I am in pain and need some support, go in to see you or to a physical therapist, what can I expect as far as the process?
Well, I would probably recommend going to a physical therapist who has taken advanced coursework in women's health. And you can find women's health specialists on the American Physical Therapy website, and it's called the Women's Health section. And you can go on, you put your zip code, and you can find a physical therapist within your area who specializes in women's health. And what you should expect is, first there's an evaluation, a general orthopedic one. You'll discuss what's bothering you. It might just be that, I feel great, but I really just want to rehab my tummy and my pelvic floor, to get back into as best shape as possible. Or it could be that you have pain. You might be experiencing painful sex, which is a whole nother webinar.
Yeah. Oh, so this can help that too.
Yes. A lot of it is alignment again, because the way people hold themselves, the way you learn to hold yourself kind of backwards. When you stand up against gravity, women tend to become what's called butt clenchers, and that can tighten the posterior pelvic floor muscles and cause pain. So, anyway, so that's that. But
yeah. Thank you for that aside.
So you might, if you're having problems there, or just even for a general orthopedic eval, you might have an internal evaluation where we do an internal eval of the strength of the muscles, whether or not there's muscle spasms inside. Sometimes you need specific treatment that might include internal work. A lot of it is external. So there's a, that you would get your evaluation, and then you and your therapist would come up with a plan that would work best for your timeline and what, your therapist thinks would, realistically how long it'll take and how many visits it might take. So that's usually what happens.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much. We are just about at our time. Just to recap, what are 2-3 things that you really want the audience to take away from this interview?
So the first is don't do sit-ups. The second is your body just doesn't snap back together. Be realistic right after childbirth. And once you've had a baby, you've always had a baby. As I say, once postpartum, always postpartum. So it could be years later. A lot of moms are just too busy to even think about exercising. And I'm talking about a 12-minute program, nothing crazy, broken up into little pieces. And a lot of it is behavior modification, just changing the way you align yourself and using your body thoughtfully. Without increasing the pressure in the tummy. What I call breath holding behavior can make a big difference and can get you right on the road to recovery. And, some of those women who don't have any problems and they're doing marathons shortly after birthing, they probably naturally were able to just go back to that because they were, their bodies might have naturally, adjusted to the change and then changed it naturally to better alignment using, good breathing techniques, things like that. So.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I believe that you have a fabulous free gift for our listeners. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. You'll have a link on your site for it. We're going to give away some copies of the Baby Bod book. It depends on how many people apply, but we're going to try to give a few of them away to anybody who enters the contest, and and go on, and I hope they enjoy it.
Awesome. All right. And just as Marianne mentioned, in the email that you received for this interview, the link will also take you to right below where you can access this free gift. So, and it also, I think right next to it, you've got like the the free excerpt preview and exercises that go with that too.
Download that. There's a lot of information in just a few pages, and it'll be fun for you to explain why to your friends even sit-ups suck.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for being here with me today. And thank you all for listening. This concludes today's interview of Motherhood Unlimited. Thank you everyone again for joining us. And be sure to tune in tomorrow for another exciting, inspirational, and helpful interview from Motherhood Unlimited. I look forward to having you all with us. Take care. Bye.